This is Raven Radio, and today I'm joined by...
CWG Wolf, or Wolf for short.
You have felt teleportation. Teleportation feels like you are dying. Teleportation feels like you are being pulled apart at every seam you have ever touched. It's not great, but it's fast. This is a different sensation altogether, as if you stop being, period. Then the fold kicks in, which is just a bubble of positive and negative gravity in front of and behind you, which stabilizes a small area for your ship into localized real-time space. And you're good. Everything goes normal. Everything outside of your cockpit is pure white, with no distinction between any object, color, direction, nothing. It's like you're staring at a blank piece of paper.
A blank canvas.
But you're in warp, and you didn't die this time. And then you hear something rattling.
I go and check where the rattling sound is coming from, because that is not good.
It's not on the inside at first, and then you notice one of your exterior plates is just shaking loose under the force. You know that if it gets anywhere outside of your fold, it will just disintegrate into light. But it's got at least a connection on the inside that you can just weld together. So you spend the rest of your time having to just weld that, and then another part starts shaking and you gotta weld that together. This isn't uncommon, but it is also always nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
And then it stops, and you feel like a different person every single time. But you're back. You are in what is known as dead space. There is nothing near enough to you to be pulled by gravity in any given direction. You are just floating with momentum forward ever so slightly.
And I know for this fact I should be letting my engine cool.
It's at this point that you hear as the coolant system on your engine kicks into place and it flash boils whatever the coolant is and pumps it through pipes out to the dead of space, which, by the way, you do not get to keep your coolant. Your coolant is a thing that will go down as you do jumps.
Mm-hmm.
You can technically run your ship on zero coolant, and the first time you do it, nothing will break.
But continuous use...
You had a successful jump. You've done 100 before, and you have no idea how many this ship has left in it. You are stuck in dead space. The nearest object is so far away that it looks like a speck in your monitor. You got a good 30 minutes if you want to be quick about it, and a couple hours if you want to be careful about it.
Let's go with the careful with the couple hours. Honestly, I would probably play solitaire for a little bit of it before I end up doing a little bit of a spacewalk to check the outside of the hull.
Okay, you pull out a deck of cards and start shuffling it. And this is when you hear an alarm go off. It's not an uncommon alarm, it's the object alarm. It's just, there is an object in space that is close enough that it might hit us if you're not careful.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have a sublight engine, so your solution is you have a very small plasma cutter on the front of your ship. It can cut a thin line through anything that is not shielded. There are multiple types of shields, multiple types of weapons. You have a plasma cutter because you are running with a native ship. Another common way is a kinetic weapon, which is just throw a big rock at it, which is what your guns would be. The object as it appears is just a compressed hunk of warped metal that was a ship probably 100 years ago, that has been rolling around, flying through space, hitting rocks and debris and being bombarded by cosmic radiation from all sides till it melted and cracked and buckled into its own asteroid. You know, if you do nothing, the plasma will cut through it on its own, and the force of the plasma gases escaping as it literally vaporizes the metal will push the metal apart far enough that you can go through it. These are just a common rock nowadays.
I don't do anything, considering that this is a very common situation, and I continue playing solitaire for a few hours.
Okay. You hear zoomp and your ship is designed to give you auditory information, so it just plays audio recordings when it does a certain thing. There are a lot of folks who literally set their lasers to go pew, 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 because it's just a reminder that something is happening, because Terrans are not used to having no sound. So you have a pre-recorded plasma cutter. Yeah, Wolf, are you a pew, pew?
I am not a pew pew.
Okay, you have a pre-recorded plasma cutter sound and a pre-recorded gas release sound that plays every time the system detects that the thing is in your way, cut, and then out of your way. After about 2 hours on your personal timepiece, you know that you are at full cooling. It's somewhere in the negatives. You know that it gets thermocooled to the point where it is below freezing for most liquids, but what specific temperature it is read out in a language you don't know. So you have no idea if this means it's close to absolute zero or if it's just colder than freezing water. But your ship is ready to jump as long as you swap out the fuel and patch up anything you gotta patch.
I end up going to work on patching up the things that going to check the outside of the ship to end up patching it up.
As you
I'm used to having to do this on travel.
As you get ready to go out, you hit a little button around your collar and a full visor comes up, and the suit you're wearing turns into a space-ready suit, but not a good one. You know that if you stay out for more than about 15-20 of your personal minutes, you will start to get flash radiation sickness, which is like a suntan mixed with the worst migraine you've ever had. You got rad pills in case, because would not be the first time you've had a hull breach and had to fix out there for a couple hours. And at which point you came back looking closer to crispy chicken than you did a Terran. And you sat with the pain for 3 fucking days.
Yeah?
While your body flushed the radiation out. You walk into what would look like a tiny closet with a button on the side. The door closes, you hit the button. You're already hooked in because the second you're on your ship, you're hooked into your line, and you just as all of the air in the tiny closet you were in is immediately expelled out behind you. You know that it's best practice to grab your line with your hand and brace backwards like you're mountain climbing and not try to go out forwards because you will end up in a spin disoriented. You then have to claw your way back up your line till you get onto the outer rim of your ship, which looks like a metal rock. Okay? There are places where the original pristine chrome-like finish is still showing through, and over that you have stuck plates of everything from plasteel to just regular old iron in various places. It looks like it's cobbled together with as many plates of metal as you can get, and every single one of those welds is just a shit job you did yourself. You hook your welder up into... Yep, air still works. Yep. You hook your welder up into your oxygen, putting a separate pack for a non-flammable gas to go through, and then just weld for a good 15 minutes as you just find spot after spot that's peeling apart. And you know there's probably 4 or 5 layers of this cobbled together shielding you've made. And so any individual piece falling off is not a threat to your hull integrity, but they all like to do it all at once. And if that happens, you are back to the base metal, which you have several holes in.
Mm-hmm.
You tack things down that are peeling up, and you, at one point, you got a bit that's bent from just the sheer force of going forward in warp. And it kind of bends in a spirally pattern because it looks like it might have touched the edge of the fold. So it's almost like it's been stretched to like silly putty and then fell back into itself. And you have to fully bang that back into place, cut it off, and then place a new slab right on top of it. You know, it's not uncommon for bits of your corners to peel up and start being what is known as fucked up, or the scientific term, spaghettified, as the atoms are literally pulled apart by the sheer gravitational force of the fold. You've seen a true fold failure, and it looked like someone passed an entire ship through a strainer mesh and then tried to mash it all back together.
I imagine it was also something that was displayed and shown when taking courses to even be a hauler.
Yep. You did not have to take courses to be a hauler. You just bought a ship. This, however, was at a museum. Very common thing is museums, because a lot of people have junk and want to sell the junk to someone who wants to display the junk. Yeah, it's less like a long-haul trucker CDL license and more like the age of piracy, a dude who bought a ship. You bought a ship, learned how it worked, fucked up a couple of times, and now can drive it well enough that you can get from one place to another. As long as you don't crash into anybody, nobody gives a shit. And if you crash into somebody, only they give a shit.
I mean, granted, I'd probably also give a shit if I crash into someone.
Yep.
The likelihood of survival? I want to say?
It depends on how you crash. If you crash into someone coming out of warp, they're fucked and you're not. If you crash into someone going into warp, they're fucked and you're not. If you crash into someone going just on your sublight route, you're fucked. And if you somehow manage to clash folds in warp, both ships are fucked.
And then there's the minor nuisance of I did a shitty parking job and just kind of scraped their ship.
Yep. That's the most common way you fuck someone's shit up. Is you just, because your only way of parking is a drift park. You point your shit at the thing you're trying to aim for, and when you get close enough, you literally throw a magnet on a rope at the thing, and then hook it onto your ship and pull.
Okay.
You are lucky in having a warp ship, but the downside is you have no finesse when not in warp. Also, your radio clicks back to life on the same station. Anything else you do before you hit back into warp?
None that I can think. Actually, yes. I replaced the fuel rod.
I was assuming you would do that if you were going into warp.
I still want to specify that I do that because,
Fair enough. Then I'm going to hold you to the standard of specifying
you
you do.
Yes,
I will hold you to the standard of specifying that you do that every time then.
Because actions and lack thereof should have consequences.
Yep. I will roll over certain things if you just decide that rolling over them is easier, but if you want to be held to account for your fuel stock and whether or not you refueled your ship, sure. Yeah, I love that. All right. You go to hit warp again. You stock up your fuel cell. You keep the old container, because if you put it anywhere other than back into a fuel cell container, you will get heavily irradiated, worse than
the spacewalks.
Yeah, worse than a spacewalk. If one of those containers breaches, even with spent fuel, everyone on the ship is dead.
Yeah.
Unless it's a massive ship with bulkheads radiation proof.
Which this one does not have.
No.
Very clearly.
You either have the option of putting it back in the rack, or you have the option of venting it out into space.
I am putting it into the rack.
Okay. How do you keep it separate?
I likely have 2 different racks. If I don't, I separate it from the right side being consumed, left side being replacements.
Okay. You only have 1 rack, so right side is consumed, left side is replacement. There's a gap of about...
I also probably have something similar to like a colored duct tape that I just kind of tear a strip and then just slap it on the container, that signifying it's empty.
It probably has a little indicator on the side. It's just hard to see until you pull it out.
Gotcha. I probably
yeah,
still would something like that.
You have about enough space for 10 fuel rods. So you probably have about 2 spent ones before this, and you had 5, or you had 4 unspent ones on the rack, and then the space in between is how you keep it separate.
Yeah.
Okay. You ready to punch it?
I'm ready to punch it.
All right. As you go to punch it, your warp doesn't work. There are a few causes of this, some of them not concerning, some of them very concerning. The first thing your brain immediately jumps to is a fried chip in your engine, which means you're fucked.
Since it's the first thing my brain jumps to, I end up going to check if it is the fried chip, because that is the most fearful thing I could have.
You see the greatest sight you can see when working with a warp engine. There is no burnout on any of your connectors. It takes you about another hour to just check every single pin on every single chip. It's a hodgepodge of various native versions and Terran actual silicon chips. Some of them are like sheets of thin glass that shove electrons through, and some of them are pure silicon chips like we know them with metal connectors. And you go through each connection. None of your crystals are burned out. You do have a bit that is just a blob of flesh and nerves that is from an older, what are known as the Ripper ships, which are biomechanical ships. And their pieces are all over the place, but they're not terribly common either. But you have everything from Terran to Ripper to the elites, which are entire society of natives that are separate in a similar way to homeworlders, except they have locked down an entire galaxy. But elites also basically throw their trash out of their galaxy at other galaxies for fun.
They're not called elites for nothing.
You have found planets that are just elite junk balls. So some of your components are elite, and those are the crystals. And elite shit looks magic. It looks entirely unknown. You know that the original design for a grav core was probably an elite design, and that Terrans have changed it in some way, but you don't know how the fuck the grav core is made. None of any of the components are fine. Your biomass is healthy, which isn't uncommon. That shit's resilient as fuck. Your Terran equipment is old and dusty, but all the chips still work, and that one's easy. You just test it with 2 bits of wire and a multimeter. The crystals you have to pull out and shine a light into each of the holes and make sure all of the lines are still connecting from one end to another. But all of those holes shine through in the ways that you know they should, so it's not a burnt chip of any sort. Which means your next bet is you are close enough to a gravitational anomaly that it doesn't want to warp for a little bit. This is anything from a black hole to just a very heavy object. But it's enough gravity that if you try and make a fold right now, it will pull you towards that object and slam you into it. You know there are entire galaxies that, because of their center, do not allow warp technology. Most warp technology will not work in it unless you choose to bypass certain safety measures, and those are stories of either madmen heroes who have jumped through dead space that shouldn't have been jumpable, or the tales of idiots who have crashed into suns. There's almost never anything between when you bypass security measures.
And as you mentioned, this ship is not capable of cruising, it's only capable of warp jumping?
It is capable of cruising in that when you come out of warp, you have momentum.
Okay.
And that momentum won't go away. There's no atmosphere for it to push on.
Yeah,
so you will
no
just keep
atmosphere.
flying until you are out of this gravity well.
I end up sighing in very much relief, as I'm not strandedly fucked yet.
It's at this point that you get out a little metal marble, cut off your grav generator, and let the marble go, and watch as it drifts slowly towards the back end of your ship, which means that's probably the direction the grav well is in. You kick your generator back on, and you are now cut off from that grav well personally. Your ship will still drive fine. It just can't go into warp without being pulled into that well's radius.
Yeah. Head back to the cockpit and verify and check my heading.
As far as you can tell, you're headed to the same star you clicked on. And going back to your cockpit, you see, oh yeah, there's a little red spiral close enough that it's probably your gravity well, which indicates a black hole. Which, if you were running a scooper, which is a type of ship that specifically works off of gravity slingshots and warp technology, that would be a thing you would love. But because you're running a puddle jumper, you fucking hate these things.
Probably end up just thinking, oh, I'm gonna be here for a bit. And I probably end up sitting down in the chair and passing out for a little bit.
Okay. Do you set any sort of alarm or timer?
I do. I set it to about, I want to say, an hour.
Okay. You can set it based off of grav readings.
Probably would be better to do that then, actually.
Yep, you set it based off of grav readings. It's not easy to check your actual grav readings because it is a fuck ton of velocity numbers that are overwritten by your grav generator and your actual momentum, but you can set it based off of change in grav, which the computer will do all the math for you. This is why you have the marble, by the way, because it's easier to check your grav by turning your grav gen off and just dropping a marble than it is to try and read the Excel spreadsheet of velocities that is pulling on you, because every one of those stars in the sky is pulling on you a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And every single one of those is marked on your grav map. It's
and
actually
the strongest pull will be affected, the marble will be affected by.
Yep. That's actually how it makes your map itself. It's just that a lot of the common ones have been named in the map, so you can go to those.
Gotcha.
It's checking the grav pull from everything within a reasonable radius to check the gravitational pull. You know, real old grav testers literally worked off of a sand type thing made of tiny little balls that you would put in a sphere, and when one of them contacted the edge, it would just give a signal. You set your timer, you set your alarm, and you just conk out for a bit. Do you want to go to sleep in the chair, or you have a bunk that you could use?
I'd probably end up just sleeping in the chair. Despite having a bunk, I don't use it all that much when I'm in deep space. Only when I'm resting at a rest site.
Yep. Do you disable your object alarm, or do you let that keep going?
I likely am used to it by now that I just leave it going.
Okay. Then do you sleep through it if one happens?
I likely have a alarm that would be for larger than it is capable of.
Yep.
That would end up waking me up.
Okay. Then when you wake up, you find 3 small readings, all of which dealt with either by sheer it wasn't going to hit you velocity, or one of them got plasma cut.
All right.
You also know, however, every time you use the plasma cutter, it slows you down a slight bit.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You've tested it, and after a full warp, you have about 100 cuts before you start to visibly slow down. But the alarm starts going off that you are out of the gravity well and that you are good to jump.
I proceed to punch it.
All right. As you hit it, everything goes white again. You feel like you don't exist for a second until the fold happens. And then you get pulled to the back of your ship as the fold's center is not centered on your ship anymore. You are still in the fold, it just has made a larger fold for whatever reason. Generally, this means the sensor picked up something behind you that it thinks is still part of your ship, and instead of destroying it, pulled it into the fold. This also means you will burn fuel faster.
I don't know if there's any cameras on my ship to be able to check to my rear.
You definitely don't have windows, so yeah, there's probably cameras.
Obviously.
Fucking clear plasteel is way out of your budget.
Yeah, no. I probably only have that front windshield in general.
Yeah, and that's only because it came with the ship you got. Because when it was nice, it probably had several windows, but most of those cracked into where your holes came from.
Yeah.
You check your rear view camera, and you don't see anything for a second. Until you realize you're in warp, and it shouldn't be black. It looks like black dead space has just followed behind you.
How the hell?
As far as you can tell, it looks like you've just pulled a chunk of dead space into warp with you, which is not possible because dead space doesn't have mass. You're flabbergasted at this for a couple seconds until you watch the pure black melt downwards. And it reveals an Advent ship. Probably a prototype Advent ship. It looks like it's hot off a manufacturing world and being flown by some hotshot military boat. It's got two big plasma cannons at the front that are not anywhere comparable to your cutters. And it's got a sub-atmosphere design, meaning it's got wings to it. So it's obviously meant for both atmospheric and non-atmospheric flight. And it's at this point that you hear de-deep, 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 de-deep of a signal hailing you.
I answer the signal.
Fuck you think you're doing? Just jump into warp without warning?
Apologies, I didn't notice pick up any ships nearby.
What's your designation? I need to know what fucking company you're in. You have no designation, and when he says company, you know he means military. Because this guy assumes the only people in space are there to fight.
I'm I guess you'd end up calling me a vagabond hauler and scrapper?
Fucking vags, god damn it. At least you're not a scav. At least you're not a fucking scav. It's at this point that you look at the pile of junk in the back of your thing that you salvaged off of other ships that have been destroyed and go, he doesn't have to know that I'm a scavenger. Militants really look down on scavengers because they see every ship as either hard-won property of the people who won, or it was mine in the first place, what the fuck are you doing with it? Fucking vags. Alright. Pull us out of warp immediately. You know that you cannot drop warp until your fuel runs out.
I am unable to do so until the fuel rod that I runs out.
It's at this point that the warp cuts out and both of you stop. Dead, by the way. You did not gain any momentum because there was too much weight in the fold.
Mm-hmm. Speak of the devil.
Fuck, where the hell are we? And then you hear someone going, we're here, sir. Sir. What the fuck do you mean you don't know where we are? Sir. Well, safely, sir. Okay. Fuck. Do we have enough fuel to get to the nearest system? We don't have any fuel, sir. We were in the middle of the refueling run. At this point, it's just a string of expletives before you hear the static of the line cutting out.
Yeah. Kind of just scratch the back of my head and go back and replace the fuel rod, but I, wait a while before,
Beep, 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 beep.
I answer it again.
Kind citizen, would you mind hauling us to the nearest system?
I certainly can try.
You know you have enough fuel, you're one jump away. Even with excess, you're only one jump away. You were supposed to be only 2 jumps away.
But this, mishap,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
it cut your fuel down by 1, but do you say anything to them besides sure?
I'd like to slightly request a compensation for at least 1 fuel rod in the process.
It is your duty to help your... And then you hear his words get muffled as someone grabs him. And you hear a female voice. This is the 2nd officer on the ship. I am sorry about our captain. We will pay for at least 1 fuel rod. We will pay another fuel rod if you do not mention we exist. He does not understand that we are supposed to be on a covert op and should not be talking this much. And then you hear in the background, very muffled, "This is mutiny!"
I wish you luck with that one.
You do have a little screen. It's like a video call, but you've only ever had the face shot of the guy. And the guy's the most generic looking soldier until the lady steps up. And you look, and behind the lady is what is the first mate holding the captain back while the second mate talks to you.
I wish you luck with that one. It's like a handful.
Captain is a little ornery due to not having his whiskey. We also do need some direction as to where we're going.
I imagine there's a way to send data through the transmission call to them.
Yep, you can pull up images instead of your own camera. Do you leave your camera on or do you leave your screen dead?
I leave my screen dead and then send them the images the direction we're going.
Then she jumps a little startled. Oh, I didn't think you had a working visual. All of this is in a language I don't understand.
Came from a truck stop over by so-and-so. I don't remember the location.
I didn't give it a name.
I'm navigating to place that name was given. Or both the planet name, like the ID number, as well as the question mark planet name.
342 ABA. Okay, that is a name I know. Navigator, we're heading to 342 ABA. On it, Captain. I mean, second mate.
She's a lot more respected than everyone else. Than the other guy.
So the first mate is actually the most respected, but he's the one actually hauling the captain away to his quarters.
And the second mate is truly the first mate, while the first mate is truly the captain head that was assigned to them.
The captain's someone's kid.
No, baby.
By the way, everyone else is wearing what would be the equivalent of just a dark green shirt and baggy pants. And the captain is wearing full dress regalia.
Yeah, apologies. I do have working visuals. I just... not very decent right now. That's why.
Fair enough. Yeah, if you can pull us in your folds, we can secure ourselves. You're sure nothing's gonna fall off of your ship, right? You know what your ship looks like. It looks like it's gonna fall apart in any second.
I know. It shouldn't fall apart. I did do a bit of repairs before. I accidentally pulled in earlier. Apologies again. Nothing was on my readings.
You're good. Do you want a repair before we go? I can do that instead of fuel rods. You know that this is a military stock ship. They will have ingots of plasteel that they can just shape to anything.
Actually, you know what? That sounds a lot better.
All right, we can do that. Second mate to engineering, can we get 3 engineers to walk to the nearby ship? You got it. And this is where you watch 3 guys they're not wearing a wire connected to their ship. They are wearing a suit that's got a jetpack on the back and 2 grappling hooks on either side. This is military issue. It's not high quality. It's durable shit, but it's not pricey shit. But they are military engineers who immediately hop to your ship by throwing their grapples and then jet towards you and then jet away from you to slow down. And pretty quickly, you watch as they start by hand, due to what is probably an exomechanics on their suit, just peel apart some of the older, worse slabs of metal and pull out what looks like a cold welder at first, until you realize it's got a rod section that is just for adding pure plasteel. It looks to you, to Wolf, like a giant hot glue gun. It looks like someone mixed a hot glue gun with a AR-15. It's got a buttstock that you put the glue into, and then you just shove it into something, and it pours molten hot plasteel along it, which hardens harder than most materials you get access to. You have maybe a cube of plasteel that you have as a treasure. The first things they peel off, all of a sudden your MOS kicks off because it detects a leak, and your helmet pops up immediately, and you feel the pull as your entire cockpit depressurizes for a second before they seal up what used to be a window with a full pad of plasteel, and you feel it all repressurize, and the automatic system on your helmet kicks back off. It's a little jarring, but it's no more jarring than taking a meteorite through the side.
Which has likely happened on more than one occasion.
Oh, all the fucking time. You've gone through belts that are just that, like bullets piercing armor. But some of your more hodgepodged plates are being replaced with plasteel, adding some durability to your ship. It's a little disconcerting as you check the sensors to see the light blue plasteel against the pure chrome of Elite Tech.
Yeah.
It's like looking at a Ferrari that's had just a regular Ford wheels put on.
I was about to say, it's a Ferrari that just has Mercedes doors applied to it.
Yup. It used to look like a cobbled together batch of parts from every variety of shit, but now it's at least mostly just military grade plasteel, and you don't know if it's chrome. Everyone just calls it chrome because it shines like chrome. What the actual material is a trade secret that fuck if you know.
Fuck if I know. It just works.
It just works, yeah. It's more durable than plasteel, so... But as they finish repairs, your engine vents coolant. One of them sticks their hand in the engine coolant as it vents and is just riding the wave like he's sticking a hand out of a car. Which, for context, this shit will melt flesh, so their suits are obviously heat resistant.
Mm-hmm.
But dude's obviously used to just working on ships venting shit. One of them comes around to your cockpit, stamps a magnet on the front, stands on it and gives you 2 thumbs up, and then pops the magnet off and jets towards their own ship. Not a single one of them says a fucking word to you.
Nope. Not like I'd be able to hear anything from the outside anyway.
They all probably have short-range comms.
Probably.
Even your suit has a short-range comm. It's standard so that if you get stranded in the middle of nowhere, you can hail any passing ship. But also, the statistical likelihood of finding another ship in dead space is low, which is why this is baffling.
On everyone's fronts, including my own.
As far as they were aware, they didn't see you because they thought you were just a piece of junk, and then you went into warp and pulled them with you. What the fuck do you mean this hunk of junk can warp? They have
like a fellow space rock.
Yeah, you look like a space rock, and they are full cloaked, so they look like dark matter.
Yeah, no, it's no wonder I didn't notice them.
You watch as they pull the shields back up once the engineers come in. And they do hail you going, "We're still behind you, don't worry." And you look and you cannot tell a difference. Where there would be stars behind you, there are stars behind you. Where there would be black behind you, there's black behind you.
Yeah, no, it's a full-on cloak.
Yup, it is a full cloak. You even switch to a thermal sensor that you only have to make sure the engine's not overheating, and then turn it just slightly enough to see it, and it doesn't even show up on thermals.
Man, I wish I could tell this story, but a deal's a deal. No word was this. Pull the get out. Everyone ready?
Ready? Get your fucking hands off of me!
And I hit it.
I am a general of the gods get up! And then you hit warp, and everyone, you hear as the entire crew who is not running a full warp ship goes into full warp, and you hear the reactions you're used to. Some of them are retching, some of them are like, it's almost like they're having a religious experience, but the second mate that you can see is just used to it. You get a feeling this is a prototype being flown by an idiot and his newbie crew with 2 people there to make sure no one fucks it up. Which is not uncommon. Most people in most armies are just children who have been born to fight for a day and die. You know that if this ship ever sees combat, it's probably going to either win or lose immediately. The only exception to that are grand scale battles, of which there are a few that have been running since before you were born that are still running. And even then, the ships that go to a grand scale battle are just going into a meat grinder.
This is actually a very obvious question that I should have asked much earlier.
Yep.
How long have I truly been flying this ship?
That's up to you.
Okay, I want to say give or take 14 years.
14 years? All right. How old were you in Terran Assumption years when you first got your ship?
Probably about 17.
Okay.
Just
Okay.
barely enough to actually be able to fly.
You've known kids as young as 5 piloting ships.
But did they have family that actually helped guide them?
Yeah. A lot of richer families actually just give their kids ships.
Yeah, no, I had to. I did not have family to teach me.
Yep. You probably
That is
got the ship at around 15 and couldn't get it working till about 17.
Fair enough.
Which also gives you some notes. You go through the motions of trying to start warp, and it doesn't work again. And you immediately check all of the chips again, because you're like, God damn it, did a chip burn out now? And then you go and check, and there's no gravity wells. Actually, you do find one burnt out chip, and it is in the safety sensors, which shouldn't make this happen. In fact, it would make it easier to go into warp when you shouldn't be able to go into warp.
I'm still connected to comms, right?
Yeah. They've cut their comms, but you can call them back now that you have their signal.
Yeah, I proceed to call them back.
Yes? Is there a
Seems to be
problem?
minor problem? Can't seem to enter warp, and the safety chip seems to be fried, which should actually make it easier to...
Huh.
There's no gravity
Let me
wells
try
around.
something. Engineering, cut the cloak. As you watch the cloak go down, you immediately jump into warp from the jump you tried to do earlier.
Ah!
With this, you can intuit their cloak is probably a grav cloak. Yeah, sorry about that. Apparently our cloak interferes with warp.
Understandable.
You could sell the fact that this specific army has grav cloaks for a lot of money.
Yeah, but at the same time, if I did that, I'd probably be hunted.
It depends. This army is not known for being well coordinated. I say army, it's close to a Terran frontier town that just has a military manufactory, so they like to send their ships into any conflict they can do to steal any tech they can have. You'd lose rep with this specific faction if it ever got out, but they're not skilled enough to hunt you down. But that's not a choice you get to make just yet.
Nope.
As you cut out of warp just before your fuel rod goes out, which means you are at your destination.
And we have arrived.
You watch as they immediately raise their cloak and disappear. You get the feeling they'll probably meet you in station.
Yeah, I start beginning the procedure to end up docking.
Yep, for you, procedure to dock is just hope, mostly.
Yeah?
Eventually you get close enough that you literally hop on top of your ship because you're in the Atmos envelope and toss a magnet rope and just pull your ship in. It's mostly guided by grav, not your grav, but the grav of the station. But for smaller stations, the magnet rope helps a lot to keep alignment. But this is a larger station, so it's not terribly hard. There's also a lot of open space to park your ship. There is just a long plank of metal that stretches out past the envelope that it is meant for people to just hit anchors on and then pull themselves along manually. Because in the interference of 2 grav cores, both items become fully weightless and is real easy to move.
Sounds about right.
Toss a magnet out, pull the rope in until you can grab the railing, and then walking the railing along like a jet ski on the docks nowadays. Welcome to, I'd say a city, but it's a little small for a city. But it's a bustling station. This one's built into an asteroid, so it's got its own grav, but it still probably has a generator in the core to make sure shit works. Which also means it's got what's known as rotation gravity. Meaning, you could walk around this thing and into it. And it's kind of disorienting to walk into it when you can walk around it. It's either going to have pre-used mag boots to walk inside, or it's going to have grav floors. And if it has grav floors, it's a nicer neighborhood, but it's probably get a population of a couple thousand. It's a port.
Pre-used grav boots.
More than likely pre-used grav boots, unless this is a major trading hub, and you don't know yet because you haven't been here. It's covered in lights, and you see plenty of the buildings look like they're just stapled to each other, but that's no measure of quality. That's just how shit's built out here. You notice one building that's got its own glass windows, and that's probably whoever runs the place. They probably have their own personal military to some degree. It's, to give metaphor, it's a colony in the age of piracy, where most of the laws are done by whoever owns the land, and the rest of the laws are pay the taxes so we can pay our taxes to whoever we send all our shit to. But you do know that this is not affiliated with the military of bumbling idiots that you hauled to it. Whether they're antagonists or friends, you don't know the specifics, but the flag is different. There is a unified flag code technically, but there are thousands and thousands of flags, all with some denoter of faction and specific place. So you can tell what the faction is because it's got a little section in the flag, and there's a bigger section for what the place is, but you don't know what either mean. But you land, and pretty much immediately, it's a bustling dock. You see ships of all make and model shuttle out, shuttle in, shuttle out. It's always day. It's always midday for shipping. So the ships are just constantly swapping out. Some are just parked slightly outside of the gravity and trying to follow with engine burn. You know that's a common trader practice so they don't get raided in port. You also know places like this are fresh pickings for anyone who's got a set of guns and wants to take whatever they want. Places like this generally will have some cannons, most likely kinetic, which is piss easy to either dodge or just not get hit by. But you make it into town, and the fashion is mostly utilitarian synth cloth. A lot of baggy jeans and t-shirts, basically. Some more, like, button-up shirts, but they're all durable synth cloth.
AKA common wear, honestly.
Yep. It's polyester.
Mm-hmm.
It does look like a lot of the people you're seeing so far are mechanics, which doesn't shock because you're at the port.
Surprise me.
Yeah. You know, if you wanted to get further repairs done, you'd probably go to one of the buildings nearby. There will be a port master for this port who can direct you to repairs and repair docks. There will also be a quartermaster for this port for shipments in and out. Same as the small one, but more busy. And at this point, you step into line as you are waiting to speak with the dockmaster. It's not uncommon that the system is just hand you a token that says you're here. But this one's obviously checking some amount of paperwork. Whether that's for all shipments or if it's just because the guy in front of you is hauling something specific you don't know or care, it's none of your business unless you specifically try to listen.
Not specifically, but I would more than definitely end up hearing fragments.
Okay. Then what you do get is, we can't take that in, it's too volatile. I have nowhere else to offload it. I have the documents here. We can't take it, we don't have space. It's too volatile. Fine, I'll sell it to someone who's on shipping out.
Definitely piqued my interest on it being volatile, but I do not think I would have the means to transport it.
You know that if they transported it, it's probably in some sort of a container. Most shit that's volatile has their own specially designed container that they get shipped in. It's just that they don't want to keep it long-term in a place where people live. For example, your fuel rods would not be allowed in unless there was a specific section for fuel, which it probably has one.
Specific section for fuel.
Yeah, this dock probably has a specific building for fuel that is either shielded by grav or hard light, but not everything can be stored in every type of shield.
Yeah.
A grav generator detonation will rip through a grav shield immediately, and a plasma ball will rip through hard light. So it's kind of a what they have versus what they can hold type thing.
Yeah.
Judging by what they have, it's probably a grav, because gravs are easier shields to get for stations like this. A grav shield on a ship is expensive. It's basically another grav core, which is the most expensive part in your ship besides the warp drive. And generally, it's a bigger grav core than a localized gravitation section.
So more than likely, what he's trying to sell, I would not be able to afford to begin with.
Would you like DM's insight?
I would like DM's insight.
Okay, putting 2 and 2 together, you'd guess that they probably have a grav shield over their fuel, which means it's probably a grav core.
As he begins walking off, after he says that he's gonna probably find someone to sell it to that's shipping out, I end up chiming in slightly. Is that a grav core you're trying to sell?
Yeah, I got some of the old big ones. And no one ever fucking takes them because everyone's got a grav shield.
Think it's big enough to be able to stabilize an outpost that grav core is running out on?
I mean, yeah, I got them out of stations that were left behind. Real good money to strip grav cores off of dead stations. If you can sell them, that is. And he looks at the dockmaster with a little bit of irritation. What do you say?
I know a station's their grav core is going out and on the fritz, and they need a replacement.
Where at? And you give him the directions.
Basic coordinates.
I will head on that way then. Can't be any worse than fucking dumping them in dead space.
Also, they'd also appreciate if you could bring them a filter too, maybe some food.
I can stock up on a full-size filter or a quarter-size filter.
Full size. Pretty sure
Okay, I can stock up on some rations and a full-size filter. That'd probably be a good haul. Thanks for the advice.
No problem. Not likely to make my way back over there as it is. Might as well send some hope their way. I make it up to the dockmaster now?
The line continues moving, and you get to the dockmaster. The dockmaster looks at you, looks at the ship you came in on, and just sets a token down.
And I guess I pick up the token,
Yep.
and I ask him, replacement, I say replacement for fuel rods, but
Fuel depot's 2 docks that way.
much appreciated.
And if you need them, repairs are another 2 dock the other direction.
All right.
You know
I end
that
up
probably
heading-
means you have to keep the token, take your ship out, and then drive and shove yourself towards the other docks.
I proceed to do just that.
Okay. You going for fuel repairs?
Let's go for fuel first.
All right. You get to the fuel dock, and they are willing to take the junk off of your hands to give you enough fuel to fill up all 10, as long as you give them all of your spent rods.
I will absolutely do that.
Okay. Your cargo is now empty, and you have a full 10 jump fuel rod set. Which, this is the first time in a long time you've had all 10 of your fuel rod spots full.
Certainly feel satisfied about it.
But now you're flat broke.
Uh-huh. Well, it wouldn't hurt to go into town to start window shopping.
Yep. I will say, when I say flat broke, I mean you can't afford cargo. You will always be able to afford a bait of food and a place to sleep no matter where you go.
Yeah. No, I'm just not able to afford the repairs.
Yep.
I'm not likely to be able to afford a new safety chip.
Yep. No, those are all in the thousands of credits, and you have maybe 100 credits.
Yeah.
A meal for a day at a nice restaurant is 1 credit.
Okay.
And that'll probably be a full nutritious meal plus basic medicine additives to improve health and your ability to circulate oxygen. It will be like you are mending most of your body. But ship repairs, however, are a whole magnitude bigger.
Which is why I'm glad I took them up on their offer to repair the ship a little bit.
You probably could have gotten not similar repairs, but repairs with your load instead of fuel.
Yeah, no, I needed that fuel.
Yep. Your option was basically, do you want the military to buy you a full set of fuel rods or a good set of repairs?
Mm-hmm.
And you took repairs, which means your ship has more durability. Anyway, anything else you want to do at docks, or do you want to head into town?
I will head into town.
All right. You head into town and you find the strangest sight. Stone buildings. Which, while uncommon, isn't impossible, but it means that this asteroid is made of hard stone. And they mined out the hard stone, cut it into blocks, and made some of the earliest houses out of those hard blocks instead of prefab metal sheets. And you look up, and on top of those stone buildings, there's plenty of prefabs just bolted together. And there's nets and walkways, and it's like a rat's nest of the low levels being stone and the upper levels being sheet metal, and then the furthest up levels just being synth fabric tents. Not an uncommon way to build a city out here. A lot of the people who live in the tents are probably just the shippers who are staying for a day. You probably have a pack roll and synth fabric tent.
Mm-hmm.
At bare minimum for when you land on an actual planet. But you go walking down and you find that most of the buildings are shops of some variety. Most of them sell basically nothing of worth. It's metal trinkets that have bits of advent tech ripped apart and put into it as jewelry, and maybe an advent tool behind glass and with an alarm system.
Very clear security measures.
Yeah, very clear security measures. You find one shop that's got a whole like shelf that is in a hard light container, which for you is force fields. It's got this hexagon pattern that you know force fields. And That's fucking expensive. There is some generator there that is burning fuel rods to hold that container in place and existent. So whatever is behind that is fucking worth it. And you look over, and that's a gun. That is an Advent Plas rifle. And you look around, and the rest of the shop is old kinetic rifles to pre-gen Plas rifles to pre-gen kinetic rifles. And the centerpiece being this brand fucking new Advent Plas rifle. You also know that if this is here, there is an entire world that is just dedicated to making these rifles.
Just like a kid in Toys R Us, I see it, and I am kind of visibly drooling at it.
Yep, you're not the only one. There are plenty of rougher looking shippers who are just, fuck, I want that. God, it's so pretty. God, that's such a good gun. You do notice there are what have to be ancient kinetic weapons, old gunpowder style kinetic weapons that are going for pennies. There are a couple nicer looking ones. One of them is a obvious historic relic. It's you would note as a 6-cylinder revolver. And that thing is polished to a sheen with full engravings, and it's in the bucket. It is junk to this person.
Me, myself, I would likely find these ancient relics very intriguing and pick it up to inspect it.
Yeah, it's marked for a single credit plus ammo. You're not sure this person knows that this might be old Terra.
Verifying single credit plus ammo means the single credit is for and ammo, where ammo is sold separately.
Yep, nope, it comes with a box of old style ammo. Old style ammo also is so easy to fix that your ship printer could probably make it once you have one to give it a sample.
Mm-hmm.
It's just cheap metal and some biochem that's real easy for your printer to make nowadays.
I am smiling while holding this as I walk over and go to pay for it. I'll take this one.
5 credits.
Looks at the tag. Fine. Nah, I'm not going to try to argue with him. At least I know what he put the price as, but he was probably thinking that nobody would actually end up paying for it. So he wants to get his money.
You pay over 5 credits, he hands you a box of Smith & Wesson Magnum shot. You have bought a Smith & Wesson Magnum. You have bought an old cowboy revolver. This is... You look at it now, and it's obviously got synthwood on the handle, and it's probably a replica. But it's a good enough replica that it's a still functioning gun, and it is a proper replica of an old Terran gun. It does have engravings, but none of them make sense. It looks like someone just engraved it for the sake of engraving it without understanding that engravings have significance on old weapons.
Yeah.
And you keep looking over it, and you realize, shit, this thing it's gonna work. It's gonna look pretty, and it's gonna fire, but you're gonna have to probably get new bolts just made for it after a good number of uses. You also don't know how to shoot a gun.
Nope. Doesn't change the fact that having one may end up helping.
Yep. Nope.
Even if it's never to be fired.
You have a working firearm. You have no training with it, and it is as good as old revolvers are. And out of the corner of your eye, you do catch something. This you're getting because you've done enough smart things that your character's a little smart. You watch as he puts another one in the barrel.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You realize now that that barrel is just full of junk, so that one gun looks better by comparison. After that, you're 5 credits poorer and still need to find a place to sleep.
And find a place to get some food, because...
Yep. Almost everywhere that sells food also sells some sort of sleep. Unless you go to an ale house, which is just someone's home who makes beer. And if you go there, you might actually get real beer, not quote-unquote beer.
Not that MRE beer.
Yeah.
I'll just head to one of the restaurants that may end up seeming more appealing.
Okay. You enter a high-quality restaurant. Restaurants also kind of work as medic stations, in that most of the shit to cook food nowadays are old medical equipment that have just been passed to cooks.
Okay.
Old cutters for cutting open bodies are now just used to process meat, shit like that. So most of them are either old medically trained people who just took their shit and went and cooked, or it's shit that was offloaded and you kind of got to know how to cut up a body in order to make food nowadays, unless you're getting printed food, which always tastes like nothing.
Yeah.
The explanation you've been given is that the flavors are all too volatile to easily print, but you've never believed that. If you hang around seedier locations, the idea is that empires will intentionally make all printed food schematics bland to the point where printers are not allowed to print flavor compounds, so that you have to pay money to buy good food.
Sounds about right.
You also know that your printer, while it can make ammo, would not be able to make a gun. It cannot make any sort of weapon. Ammo is a... What?
I was saying it might be able to make the smaller, but not the full-on detailed weapon itself.
Yeah, it can make any individual part of a gun if you know how to put together a gun on your own, but you would basically need to design a gun from scratch and print every part on your own, because there is basic functionality in every printer that it's not allowed to print anything that can harm someone. It also can't print poisons, caustic chemicals, anything. Even the cleaner you use is, you get a box of cleaner powder that you have to mix with water, because you can't get caustic cleaners out of a printer. At least using an official printer, which is what you have. Having an unofficial printer is illegal in almost every province, because it can make guns.
Yeah.
You've heard that pirates oftentimes will crack their printers so that they can make weapons, but you haven't done it because you don't want to get arrested.
This is true.
And this is all what you're musing as you eat a very refreshing but obviously medicated meal, and you feel the stims start running through your body as what little damage you did take from the spacewalks you had, and the aches, and even the, like, again, that headache that comes from high carbon environments all washes away immediately.
Oh, that is the spot.
Yep. This is the first good meal you've had in a couple months. And the fact that you've only had a couple months since a good meal is only because you have a warp drive. But you have a good meal. They do offer rooms if you want to stay the night. The rooms will probably be nice synth silk. It's just synthread but spun thinner. But it'll be a bed, and it'll have a lock on the door, and it'll be a nice enough place. Otherwise,
yeah, I think
you
I
can...
would end up taking up one of those rooms.
Alright. Do you set a timer?
I set a timer.
How many hours?
I want to say 5 hours, actually.
Okay, what is your time scale based off of? Your personal timekeeper will be set off of your own personal time scale.
So what was the timescales provided or exampled of before?
The best example you've had so far is the lady who had 30 minutes per generator shutdown.
Okay.
It'll be something relative to either your body or your ship.
Probably end up having a time scale of a 12-hour interval.
Okay. What constitutes an hour?
60 minutes.
Okay, you're using Old Terran Standard. Now what constitutes a minute?
60 seconds.
You gotta...
Terran standards, just overall.
Okay, you gotta measure the seconds off of something.
The seconds are being measured by every 5 beats of my heart.
That is a great way to do it. So a second is 1 beat of your resting heart rate.
Yeah.
That is not an uncommon standard.
There's a reason why BPM exists.
Yep.
Beats per minute.
Yep. So you go to sleep for 5 hours of 60 minutes of 60 seconds of your heartbeat. Your timepiece is measured based off of your resting rate, so it doesn't change based off of how stressed you are. You probably set it when you were a kid.
Yeah.
And have just used that same rate for everything. Yeah, 60 BPM is not a bad resting rate.
No.
It's a little low for a resting rate, so your timepiece is probably a little fast off of Terran time, but you wouldn't know that. 5 hours don't manage to go by before you hear... as a siren starts going off in the middle of town. And you go, fuck. And that's our show for tonight. Join us next time as Wolf continues trucking in space.